So as we kind of dive into the more philosophical side of, different policies and rules, and as it pertains to Germany, we're going to be covering something kind of interesting today. Once again, we're going to be on Ask a German, the Reddit thread, and covering a very interesting and yet I don't really think controversial issue, but something that a lot of people have probably wondered because, as the rules are a bit more laxed in other countries, they're tightened up in others when it comes to this particular issue. Cannabis, right? Will cannabis ever get legalized in Germany? And how do people feel about the legalization of cannabis in Germany? I think that's a huge topic. I wanted to talk about it. I saw it, like I said, once again, in the Ask a German thread, and we're going to go over all the answers in this thread. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. If you guys are returning viewers, welcome back. We post videos every single day. Lately, I've been doing a lot more open discussion videos, like, philosophical type videos, because I feel like that is, it's pretty important when, diving into any culture and whatnot. I think it's a big deal. So go ahead, subscribe if you guys are new, and we post videos every single day. If you guys have a topic for me that you want me to talk about, I will gladly do that. But let's go ahead and dive nose deep into this thing and see exactly what we're working with, and feel free to give me your opinion in the comments down below, because your opinion is important and I want to hear it. All right, so for everything you've always wanted to know about Germany, that's the top of the page. We're going to be diving into how do Germans feel about the legalization of cannabis for recreational use? Okay, so let's do this. The negative: possibly hamper brain development. Prefrontal cortex fully develops at around 25 years old. Smoking anything long-term isn't great for the lungs. Possibly causes psychological disorders. Users can become psychologically independent on cannabis. Even though the human brain has built-in cannabinoid receptors, the majority of humans have a pleasant experience. Not everyone has a good experience, especially with high THC marijuana that's grown nowadays. And the not so negative is a natural substance that's relatively harmless to one's health. 2 is not physically addictive. 3, reggae music sounds better. I don't know if that's a really good argument there, Chief. Benefits of legalization: government control as opposed to criminal control, to include quality control, tax revenue, and that's already been proven to be very effective when you look at how it's been handled in the United States. I think that's absolutely insane. They made a lot of money, obviously, from the legalization of it, so I feel like that would benefit. It can only benefit Germany, honestly. If a user buys cannabis off the streets, the dealer might offer the user harder and very addictive drugs. That won't happen at a government-controlled cannabis distributor, coffee shop, or pharmacy. Saves taxpayers on frivolous criminal court cases regarding the use of possession of, Mary Jane. Can replace addictive chemical pain medication, an alternative to socially accepted nerve poison called alcohol. Honestly, seriously. Cause dreadlocks to become fashionable. See, this last little, come on, man. The last bullet is all, I can't take the last bullet serious, but let's go look at these answers. I need you guys to let me know in the comments down below what you think what you think about this topic. Do you think that it should be legalized or not, and why? Or why not? I want to hear what you guys have to say. I might review the answers in a separate video and see what my community pretty much says about this whole thing. Herr Magister basically says, I personally think it should be legal, equal to smoking, hard booze, etc. from an age of 18 and up. A, it would not change anything. People who want to smoke do it already. B, take out the middleman, the dealer. C, it's facts. It's not as bad as alcohol. I myself don't do it, by the way. I tried it a few times in my youth and came to the conclusion that it's not my taste. Someone else agrees and says these are my thoughts exactly. Once again, I've always been, I remember before ever engaging with that sort of thing, I was like, that must be the devil's lettuce. But I realized, as many other issues, it's just a politicized thing. It's not as big of a deal as we all made it seem. Many years ago, and even now it's not a big deal. I feel like conservative parties, for some weird reason, think that it's a problem, and it's not. In fact, I feel like if people are so adamant about not legalizing marijuana, they should probably delegalize alcohol, because I feel like alcohol is eons more detrimental than marijuana. You've never heard somebody being violent after smoking marijuana, but you have frequently heard of people being incredibly violent after drinking alcohol. It's insane. So boom. Backwards Spellcaster says, disclaimer, I never used cannabis in my life. Opinion, it should be legal. Even the police in Germany want it legalized. Get this done and out of the way. Salty Application 80 says, I used it when I was younger, but not anymore. People are going to use it regardless if the law changes, so we should at least take it out of criminals' hands, protect the young, and tax it so adults can use it if they want. I agree. Pedro Rogue says, like, Dad, is that you? Geist Lamo says, legalizing cannabis shifts the power away from dealers and to the hands of consumers. When a shop sells bad weed, word spreads and people take their business elsewhere. With limited supply, especially when you're not from a bigger city, people take bad weed over no weed. You can see that in the pricing. €13 a gram is a normal price where I'm from, and people happily pay that. Legalizing cannabis means tax money. This is a huge market. I feel like this is a huge, almost untapped market to a degree. It's tapped into now, obviously, in the United States. In fact, more states are opening that up as an option. But before, it was completely untapped. And, it's like, are y'all allergic to money or something? Because, like, y'all legalize alcohol, so why not weed? You know what I'm saying? Legalizing cannabis means protecting youth to a degree. Seriously. I cannot tell you how many situations I witnessed growing up where my friends were put in imminent danger just to get a gram of weed, dog. Just to get a gram of, literally, like, dealers are sketchy, they're very territorial. So depending on who you buy from, you could be stealing, you could be like, helping out another person's clientele versus like another person. And, it's street rules. So, people can be real bitter about you buying, your weed off of somebody else. And then they could try to come for you. And guess what? Control, I'll delete your life, my friend. Because that's exactly what they're going to do when they get jealous, depending on where you buy from. I'm personally from Chicago, so things are a little different out there. So obviously that's my experience, but I feel like, when you legalize it and everybody's selling it, right? It's almost like let's use this, let's use a lesser extreme example, and I'll use a chocolate bar. Let's say that chocolate bars were illegal, like chocolate altogether was illegal, but people were still eating chocolate, right? But they had to go through sketchy means to get chocolate. They had to go through a chocolate dealer and stuff like that. They had all these little, different things in their coat and stuff like that. You got all these little dealers in the same city, right? And they're all jealous of each other. So they want to have the biggest clientele. So what, dealers would do is they would probably set up the other dealers. They would snitch on the other dealers for selling chocolate, you know what I mean? So the dealer that you might be buying from that sells chocolate at a reasonable price gets, arrested, thrown in jail. And then you only have eventually just a few dealers, and all their prices are jacked up. Like, you might be paying what you were normally paying $1 for a chocolate bar. Now you're paying $10 for a chocolate bar because all you got are the grimy dealers left, And on top of that, if you buy from one of the other dealers and they know that you were a regular at their establishment or like their little street establishment, and they find out that you're buying from somebody else, they can get jealous and erase you from existence. You know what I mean? It's just how it is. So it's applicable no matter what product it is. But I just feel like when you put the power into the hands of the government versus the people, I feel like it's a lot safer overall, and it's a lot more regulated. There's like a lot of rules in place, and like this gentleman right here said, people will buy bad weed over no weed. They'll buy what we call Reggie, you know what I'm saying? Like, they'll buy that the real bad stuff that gives you headaches and stuff like that, than not have any at all. So I think that's very important to zero in on when bringing this up. And everybody wants everybody to be safe. And I know there's parents out there like, oh, my child would never do that. I'm like, ma'am, don't be dumb. Your child's gonna do it at least once. If they got friends and they're social at all, they're gonna try it at least once. It would just be preferred that when they do try it, it's legal, because if it's not, they probably still gonna try it. They just won't tell you, they will not tell you. And that's a conversation for another video that we'll get into, whether you should be 100% all the time or not, but that's another thing. But let's keep reading this. Legalizing cannabis means protecting youth to a degree. Who feels more responsibility to ensure his customers are of age? A shop that is heavily fined if they sell to minors, or a dealer who is breaking the law no matter who they sell to anyway? That's a very good point too. Very good point, because shops and establishments are going to abide by those rules. They have to. They have to. But dealers, bruh, they're already a foot in the grave. They already breaking the law, so they can threaten you. They can murder you. They can do all kinds of craziness to you. And sell weed to minors. Like, that's crazy as hell. Politicians' reasoning is cannabis is a gateway drug that'll make you take harder drugs. Politicians are dumb. They're also like, what? They're boomers and stuff. Like, I think the average age of a politician is like 70. So if that was a gateway drug, bro, like, they're dumb. They're really dumb. I feel like alcohol would be a gateway drug, right? Like, when you're drunk, your judgment is impaired to a sickening degree, and you're more likely to try wild shit while you're drunk than when you're just vibing and high as hell. You know what I mean? Because you're already in your zone when you're high, but when you're drunk, you don't give a fuck. You'll try anything, you know, if you're at a certain point. So, and you'll forget shit too. Like, you will completely black out. You can't black out smoking weed, dog. I mean, and if you do that, you probably had like an oxygen oxygen deprivation problem, and that comes with smoking in general. If you smoke too much and don't inhale oxygen in between puffs, then yes, you're gonna be incapacitated. So yeah, it's crazy as hell, man. People over here with this whole like, oh, it's dangerous, man. Nah, but I really want to hear the other side though, because it's interesting. The problem is not cannabis though. It's having to get in contact with organized crime for your purchase. Your dealer is likely to also deal other drugs, especially because the profit margin with cannabis is way lower and it's big and smelly. On the other hand, cannabis can be a catalyst for mental problems. It's still a drug. I don't want to pretend like it's harmless. Its medicinal and recreational effects are undisputable though. Wait, so I as an adult should be given the possibility to decide for myself whether I want to consume it or not. The biggest stress factor with cannabis for me is that I know if the police get me with a half a joint in my hand, it's an immediate search warrant for my house in Bavaria. They take your phone and PC as well. If you're unlucky, they take your license and make you prove a year of sobriety. Doesn't matter whether you were even near a car or not. People I personally know have been experiencing exactly that for less than a gram of weed. It's definitely not every time, but it can and it does happen. I don't want to be labeled a criminal for occasionally smoking a joint anymore. Legalization is a quality of life thing for me. Seriously. Salty Application 80 says my son had smoked a joint at a party and 3 days later tested positive at a traffic stop by police. He now has no license and won't get it back until he passed the MPU. Was ist das denn? The MPU. Was ist das? Let me know in the comments down below. Although I don't agree with driving under the influence of any drugs or alcohol, 3 days had passed and he wasn't high at all. It's ridiculous. And then of course there's some sympathy comments in the section like, hey, I'm sorry to hear that. This exact problem is one of the key points that has to be addressed and resolved when it comes to legalization. Roadrunner 571 says I never smoked anything and won't ever do that. Also, I usually drink just occasionally, just a glass of wine or a drink at the bar, but I'm never drunk. That being said, here's my standpoint. Either legalize cannabis like tobacco or alcohol, or make tobacco and alcohol legal. People, and it's so funny, politicians are real weird, you know? They're really fucking weird because tobacco is highly addictive. Highly addictive. If your concern is that people might try harder shit because of marijuana, then you should get rid of tobacco. Oh wait, it's making you money. Oh, okay. Well, won't cannabis do the same thing? Wouldn't it do the same thing? Wouldn't it just be an extension of tobacco? And as far as profits go, it's so weird to me, man. People are so weird. Alcohol, like I said, let's say you wait until the legal age of 21 in America to drink, which I think is dangerous because you're just now finding out your limits, right? As a grown adult. And, you know, you go out, you get belligerently drunk because you don't know your limits. And then you start breaking shit, you know, trashing shit, going absolutely berserk because what all that happens when you're drunk, right? And you drink too much is your sense of judgment is severely impaired and you go absolutely berserk, bruh. If you high, 3 things might happen. You might get horny, you might get hungry, and you might get tired. That's it. You ain't gonna do nothing violent, G. Like, you will be too chilled the hell out to be doing anything like that. Now, as far as doing that while driving, I don't agree with that. I don't think you should be taking any drugs while driving, and alcohol being one of them. Weed, another thing. I don't think that anybody should be smoking and driving and all that good shit. But, you know, I feel like it's harmless. It's virtually harmless compared to alcohol that's already legal. And I feel like cannabis, in my opinion, won't fully get legalized for like another decade or so, when people finally get their dumbass shit together. Basically, when my generation is of age to become politicians and shit like that. Once, you know, I'm damn near in my 40s, we'll see a regular wave spread across the world of legalization of marijuana. And that's something that, you know, adults couldn't even fathom back in the day, because everybody was a fucking sheep. And they're like, oh, it's bad. Oh, it's bad. But I'm like, you drink alcohol like it's water, G. Like, what do you mean it's bad? And you act a damn fool every time you drink alcohol. So it just, to me, it's insane. It's insane. Let me know what you think, though. I'm just being raw and whatnot. This is gonna be a video that's probably not gonna have a $sign on it. I can probably tell you that right now, just off of the topic. But it's a very interesting topic. Okay. This person also says everything else is just stupid, but since prohibition never really works, I prefer to make them legal, but add tax to discourage overconsumption. Also, people should be educated about these legal drugs to promote a relatively healthy consumption. Think about it. If doctors are literally prescribing this shit to help treat, you know, different issues and stuff like that, then, I mean, it can't be terrible, right? It can't be terrible, especially if it's like a treatment method for like things like cancer and things of that nature. I feel like, you know, what's the harm in doing it? What's the harm in doing it? I feel like it's people's religious beliefs getting in the way. Professor Talba Relafant says, legalize it, drop the persecution, tax it, have quality controls. No need to stay in the 20th century. 20th century was a horrible time, not gonna lie. H. Flashman says, well, I'm an old German. I've smoked the occasional Tüte. For once, I speak with authority when I say legalize the shit. Wow. I think there's a 100% legalization rate. I kind of want to read a post that says don't legalize it and read why. For real, have you looked at the figure in, say, Colorado? Taxes are way up and the crimes are way down, etc. That's super cool. Godless Life says, I'm for legalization of all drugs. People will take them anyway. Decriminalization leads to lower impurities and thus reduce health risk for the users. And you can educate people properly without the stigma of doing something illegal, and taxable income for dispensaries. And it's so funny too, because they always talk about how drugs ruin lives and da-da-da. Alcohol literally ruins lives, and it's legal. Like, people get drunk and start, you know, drop kicking people and violating people and all this other craziness when they drink alcohol. So, I mean, the worst that's gonna happen is the same shit when you like do any kind of drug, you know what I mean? So like when people use these baseless ass like examples, I'm like, you can apply the same thing to drugs. Either legalize weed or delegalize tobacco and alcohol. That's my stance on it, because they're all addictive. They all can be addictive, you know what I mean? And I feel like, why the hell do I have like a problem with someone else making a decision in their life? Like, if I don't drink personally, I personally do not drink like that unless I'm doing it like socially with people. I'll have 1 or 2 drinks and that's it. And I don't need it, you know? I can literally go like years without drinking at all. I just occasionally, I'm like, I guess I'll taste it, see what it tastes like, and then that's it, you know? But I don't do it to get drunk, you know? But then there's other people that do it to get fucked up. And I don't blame them. I'm not gonna do that shit. But I'm just saying, like, why would that bother me that other people are doing that? It doesn't. Live your life, pimpin'. I don't want to control your life. But, you know, unfortunately, people want to believe that they are holier than thou and that their belief is the single most proper belief that everyone else should have. And it's insane. It's ridiculous, in my opinion. Boom. Craft Orb says, I don't care. Never used it, not planning to do so. However, a lot of time spent on minor cannabis possession offenses, so freeing that time up to do something more helpful to society would be good. Also, growing and distributing it in a regulated manner would also make the use so much safer. I agree with that. Petarogue says, I don't like weed personally, can't stand it, not passive, not near me. But that being said, when it comes to cannabis, it is none of my business to ban it for other people if they like it. there are enough reasons to come to the conclusion that it is not more harmful and actually less so than alcohol. Still banning it is still banning it is a purely ideological thing without any proper reason in the best case, and can deeply hypocritical in the worst case, which is insane. I listed all the points earlier. Any argument you can make against legalizing weed, you can also make against legalizing alcohol or tobacco. The exact same arguments. The only difference is people's weird ass ideologies are just like, no, like just weed, no. And I'm like, why? Give me like a legitimate reason why. If it's so bad, if it's so detrimental, why are doctors literally prescribing this to people that have cancer or other, illnesses that cause a lot of pain, or anxiety? Like that's also a prescription you can give to people who have severe anxiety issues. If you have anxiety, you can smoke some weed, you know what I'm saying, and just relax. So if it's that bad, what's the issue? I don't know. The only limitation, legalization for people 21 or older, because as I understand it, THC can rather directly influence brain development, which isn't done when younger than 21 in general, which I agree with. That 18 to 21, I feel like with just like in America with the 21 and up thing, I can get with that. 21 and up, go crazy. Are people still going to do it anyways? Of course. Absolutely course. I mean, we've all been teenagers before, so of course people are still going to do it. But at least having some kind of regulation on it would be nice. So you do take power away from people who don't mean well on the street. Simbertold says, the fact that it is widely used but not legal leads to weird situations where prosecution is basically depends on how much the cops like you, and the same offense can lead to widely different punishments, which sucks because it usually means that the law applies different to you depending on how you look. In my opinion, it should be legal but heavily taxed and age restricted, similar to alcohol or tobacco. I once again agree. In Chicago, for just a simple possession, not even the use of, but possession of marijuana would get you a $25,000 fine, or up to 20 years in prison for possession. Like that to me is insane. But I guess now I'm just like, bruh, man, people are weird, man. Okay, boom. Here's the first one. Lars from Baden-Württemberg. Better not legalize it. Okay, let's see why. It would be too weak and expensive. Marijuana is a weird gray area in Germany where the police don't really care, and it's smoked openly in many cities I've been to, even where I live. The parks here smell like weed on the weekends. Salty Application says, I know a guy that uses medical marijuana from the Apotheca, and he says it's really strong, but as you say, it's also very expensive. You could still get it at a dealer if you feel like it would be too weak or expensive. The black market wouldn't cease to exist if the legal way wasn't good enough. Oh my god, dude. These people in the comments are wild. Oh my god. All right. Kugelfish says, personally, I don't care if people smoke it or use it or not. If I really have to decide on which side I'm on, I'd say legalize it, tax it, put restrictions, rules regarding driving and using heavy machinery in place, and can be done with it. But I don't care enough to vote on it, meaning other issues are far more important for me, and if a party wants to legalize it but it is not strong enough working on issues that I care about, there is no way I would vote for them just because I generally think cannabis should be legal. That's true. Like, legalizing cannabis is not a massive deal, to be honest. It's not. Like, I mean, I don't smoke, I don't drink, so to me personally, it wouldn't bother me at all. Other people feel more passionately about it, but honestly, if that's all you're doing on your free time, you need to get your life together. You know what I'm saying? Like, do something more productive. Relax, obviously, and enjoy yourself, but also be productive. Oh, this is going to be a pretty interesting one. The Air Rogue says, I occasionally use it and I'm torn on legalization. The benefits on decriminalization are great, but I have personally experienced people among my friends and family that were on good school career tracks to drop out completely after they started smoking weed. I guess no one knows whether problems in life lead to drug use or whether drug use leads to problems in life. I think both are closely tied though. And I'm sure most people know the stereotypical stoner that doesn't care about anything anymore. Same as with alcohol. Abuse is only a portion of users, but those end in really bad places. So if they legalize it and tie the taxes to abuse prevention programs like they did in the US, I'm all in favor. But there we have a strong conservative party that has hawk eyes on the use of drug money, so no one can spend them on anything else. I'm afraid here the government would simply blow the cash on other useless mega projects like the BEA, justified reducing the number of policemen because they will have so much free time when they don't have to deal with drugs. You'll obviously need less, and we'd end up with more people suffering from abuse because of it. So in conclusion, I'd say legalize it, but do it right. And I don't expect our politicians to do that. They've repeatedly proven incompetence at every level. All right, cool. This was posted 52 minutes ago. Wow, these are some pretty fresh posts. Account 87 from Niedersachsen says legalize it. It's not an entry point to hard drugs, but the whole how to acquire illegal drugs thing may stop one or two from finding their way towards more dangerous shit. And I agree. So I think when people say it's a gateway drug, it's not really the gateway drug as far as like, ooh, like I like the feeling, I want to get harder shit. It's more of a gateway drug as far as now you're introduced to the world of illegal activity. And I feel like if you can curb that and make it legal, then you no longer have to enter that. Imagine if we made tobacco illegal, right? People would still want to get tobacco. Some people literally feel like they need tobacco. Like need it, you know, they need that shit. So they would go out of their way, find some real like low profile dealer and get the shit. And congratulations, now you're introduced to the market. And just like you get those shitty ads when you open up your fucking Facebook or Amazon or Instagram, you're going to start getting ads from your dealer like, hey, if you like this, you might like this. Hey, if you like this, you might like this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, it's just a little bit. And then that's how you get hooked on the other shit, you know? So it's a gateway drug as far as entering the realm of the market of just, you know, unfortunate business. So Fulhun says, from Bremen says, choose your poison. I don't care. Legalize all drugs. I don't need any. Doesn't affect me. But the police, etc., could spend their time on more important things. Seriously. I also agree with that as well. Okay. Mvator3 says, even though I'm not a German citizen, I'm an American, personally I think it should be legal, and I'm glad that you listed the negative effects of cannabis. So tired of hearing everyone say, oh, it's just weed, it's harmless. I call BS on weed being harmless. Okay, you're right. It obviously is not harmless, but it's not, I would argue that it is not as harmful as alcohol. Sorry for the comments I made earlier. Here's my take on it. I had a few brothers and a cousin who smoked cannabis habitually, and unfortunately 3/4 of my relatives that I know of let me read that again. Here's my take on it. I had a few brothers and a cousin who smoked cannabis habitually, and unfortunately 3/4 of my relatives that I know of that smoked it habitually developed some sort of issue. For 3/4 of them, it served as a gateway drug towards them trying other harder drugs. My cousin, as far as I know, stuck with only smoking cannabis, and unfortunately now he's slower mentally. My 3 brothers that went harder on drugs, 2/3 of them recovered and remained sober, while one still has issues, unfortunately, even though we got everyone as much help as possible. Generally, cannabis is not nearly as harmful as cigarettes or alcohol unless it is smoked too much. But too much of anything is bad. So after all these bad experiences involving cannabis, why do I insist on it being legalized? Because at the end of the day, it depends on the responsibility of the person. Amen. Some people can handle cannabis better than others, just like some people can handle alcohol better than others. And as you also mentioned, there are plenty of positives to cannabis being legal. So to assume everyone would handle cannabis how my relatives did is very unfair. As long as they aren't harming others while doing what they wish during their free time, who are we to say what they can and can't do? Sorry for the long post. Hope you guys had a wonderful day. Awesome. Yeah, that's a very, very, very vivid and powerful story. And to be honest, we'll read one more and we'll go from there. All right. Puffish. So Puffish says prohibition prohibition a massive waste of money. And leads to more crime like money laundering or extortion by funding organized crime. It's less harmful than nearly all other drugs, but it's irrelevant as legalization doesn't seem to increase use anyways, which also shows that prohibition doesn't work. Criminal prosecution for cannabis is arguably worse for an individual than even moderate cannabis addiction. It's really a no-brainer. I think in general, older Germans want it banned, younger Germans either don't care or want it legalized. Unfortunately, Germany is very old, so we're probably not going to see legalization anytime soon. Damn, that's rough. And on that note, what are you guys' opinions? Please let me know in the comments down below. I really feel like this issue has a lot of people, not a lot of people even torn. Like the general consensus from what we've read with a lot of the comments was that it should be legal. It totally should be. I mean, why not? It should be legalized for the same reason alcohol and tobacco were legalized. It's just, you know, finding a way to regulate it and stuff like that, or at least having like some guidelines in place that make it safe for use. That's literally it, and it's not going to be that hard. But I feel like when you have old ways of thinking and tradition and whatnot, like, oh, this is how we've always done things, and then that kind of conflicts with you know, other little things. I feel like, you know, you get issues like this where you have people debating on whether or not it should be legal and whatnot. But you guys let me know in the comments down below how you guys feel about this issue. I really like talking about stuff like this because it really opens up a thought-provoking discussion, and I get to see all sides of the coin, kind of see where my audience is at and stuff like that, you know. And yeah, I don't know. Let me know if you guys have any other topics to talk about in the comments down below, because I'm very curious. But that's it. Take care. See ya.
Well, what a pleasure it is to see all of your beautiful faces at the end of this lovely video.
Subscribe if you haven't already.
I'm sure you know, as I've mentioned in the past, we do have a Discord that's linked in the description down below, and we would love to have you a part of the world's greatest community ever, Bray Gang. Yes, if you've made it to this point in the video, you're officially a part of the community. So go ahead, join the Discord server. Link is in the description down below. And we also have other social media as well, like Instagram, Twitter. We're live. We go live on Twitch quite often as well. So it would behoove you to, you know, go ahead and subscribe to the Twitch channel at twitch.tv/JamesBrayGang. Join the cause and be a part of the greatest, literally the greatest community ever. Okay, it's simple. Just go ahead and do those little things. We're trying to grow on all these little platforms and everything, and it really means a lot. Now, I know you guys stumbled up across the channel and you're like, what does this guy post? Like, what kind of content does he post? Reactions, vlogs, pretty much whatever comes to my mind. All right, it's random content. I don't know what I'm gonna be posting 10 years from now, but I do know that you can stick along for the journey, and it really means a lot. Now, for every single person that subscribes and follows all of the accounts that I have made, and all the links will be in the description down below, that's an automatic entry for any future giveaways I decide to have. I'll remind you when the giveaways take place, but you'll be surprised what I will be giving away because you guys have supported me so much up to this point, and it's only right that I do the same thing back. Thank you guys so much for being amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Peace.